There we go. Finally sorted the audio out. Good afternoon. Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. Whether you're watching in person or whether you're watching on catch up, it's great to have you with me. Obviously if you're here in person you get the exciting added benefit of chatting away in chat. Hello. But if you're watching on video on demand or whatever, it's also great to have you here. Great to see you. If you are new here, it would be great if you slap that follow button so you can see more and hear about when I'm going live in future. But today we have a couple of main things for you, plus some general kind of chat and other bits and pieces that I'm sure will crop up over time. So I'm going to be working on this hill giant from WizKids. You can see here he's a big old chunky boy. I know how he feels. He's got some muscle on him as well. So I'm going to be working on some flesh tones for this guy here. I'm going to be basing them on the fact that he looks like he isn't too keen on wearing a top and likes to spend a lot of time outside. So I'm going to go for some kind of reddy and darker like bronzed flesh, warm flesh we've got here, that kind of thing, and then a few little highlights. I've also got some Reichland flesh shade here, which is another kind of red shade. So yeah, looking at someone who's out in the sun a lot really. So I'll be doing that, or at least making a start on that. We'll see how much I get. And I also will be opening this very soon, which is my Warhammer 40,000 Indomitus box, rather. So I'll be cracking that open, having a look, seeing what's inside, talking through it a little bit, all that kind of stuff, which will be interesting, I hope. Hopefully this week, obviously this is a very large box, so you can't see all of it, but hopefully you can see all the writing properly this week. Yes, good, right way around, that's what we like to see. So you'll be able to see what I'm seeing, read what I'm reading, that kind of thing. If you were able to read it wrong way around last week, extra congratulations to you. Yeah, so hopefully you'll actually be able to see what we're doing. So I'm going to start by doing some work on the hill giant today. Largely really because if I get some work done on this first, then I can let it dry while I have a look at the Indomitus box. And then get on with another layer on it later on. So we'll get cracking with that. So I'm working with some Instar paints today. Instar are a small paint company who I discovered relatively recently. Well, not I discovered, you know what I mean. I found them. I encountered them for the first time, and I've really liked their paints. They are really good. Like consistencies and colours. I haven't used these exact ones before, so it will be a bit of a journey into the unknown. But yeah, the paints generally have been very, very good. Hello everybody, and welcome. It's good to have you all here. So yeah, I'll be working with these. I'm going to start with the darkest tone, which is this bronzed flesh, I think. Those two are quite close in colour, but I'm going to go for the bronzed flesh first of all. And I am going to slap that all over the skin areas of the giant, because I'm then going to work on layering up from there and building more kind of nuanced colour from there. But getting a first layer down is always helpful with these things. So we're going to do that. I've got my wet palette all ready to go. Right here, I've even put a new sheet on just for you guys. The other one was pretty full. I'm not wasting sheets, don't worry. So we'll start with this, and we'll just squeeze a little bit out onto here. Start in one corner. Let's do a little bit to begin with. There we are. Now, the Instar paints don't actually need a lot of water to go with them to make them flow on nicely. I do generally water down paints as I'm using them, but it does vary from company to company because obviously they're all slightly different consistencies. I said flavours. I mean, I don't know, they might be. Different consistencies, different pigment densities, things of that nature. Instar doesn't need very much water to make it flow beautifully on the Mini. As I say, I discovered Instar paints relatively recently, but they've quickly become a real favourite of mine because of how they behave on the Mini and how nicely they go on and how nicely they layer up and things. So I'll just start putting this on. As I say, I'm not going to be super cautious and careful at this stage because this is just a first layer. Everywhere, if I paint flesh colour anywhere it doesn't want to be, then I will just go over it because I'll need to paint that area anyway. Obviously I don't want to put it on so thick that you know, I'm obscuring detail or anything like that, and it's likely to take a couple of coats just to get this looking beautiful on the skin, but the joy of doing it this way and doing it like this is it goes on nice and quickly, so we can get moving onto the next thing quite quickly. Not always the most patient, it must be said, which is not necessarily the best characteristic for a mini painter, but you know, means I'm always wanting to move on and do the next thing, do the next layer, whatever it might be. But you do have to take your time sometimes with these things, and yeah, do it right rather than having to do it twice, 3 times, more than that. You end up being a victim of your own haste if you try and go too fast. As I say, this is a WizKids Hill Giant. I'm actually painting this in part for my Goblin Inspiration well, Goblin Inspiration is a thing that I started just to try and encourage people to paint, really. So every month I come up with a theme, a kind of prompt word, however you might want to look at it, and suggest that people might like to do some painting based on that. So in the past, the themes have been there's been fire, there's been magic. Around Halloween, we had one which was spooky, and it's not a competition, so you know there's no standard required in order to take part, anything like that. It really is just to help people to pick up a paintbrush and get painting, and it's been. I found it really heartening to see that people who haven't, well, some people who've never painted before, some people who, you know, haven't painted for years and years have picked up a paintbrush again because they've kind of been inspired to try something a bit different, which is fantastic. So this, the theme for this month is, well, this actually this is the first month you've had a choice of themes. You can choose from something which was given to you as a gift. So obviously we're getting into the holiday season. So if you've got a gift which you have received, which is a mini or you know anything to do with minis, really, you can use that. Because I thought it might be nice then, because at the end of the month I do a kind of showcase video where I put on all the minis that people have entered, and you know I show them off because I'm very proud of everybody who takes part. So I thought it might be a nice way to say to the person who gave you the gift how important it was to you, because you then can show them that. Another option for Goblin Inspiration this month was something which you've just been putting off because it's December. I thought, you know, maybe something you've been putting off doing all year, but it doesn't have to be that long if you don't want to. So yeah, something which you've been putting off, but you actually really want to get painted. So I thought that was a good chance at the end of the year to kind of get maybe one thing off the list of miniatures which you know have been aimed to be painted but haven't been painted for a long time. And the third option is just anything kind of holiday related. You know, ideally a holiday around this time of year, something that's important to you. Lots of holidays going on at the moment. You know, whichever of them you celebrate, or even if you don't really celebrate any of them, you can still do a mini related to them. And as I say, the aim is not to be the best or, you know, anything like that. The aim is just to pick up a paintbrush, and at the end of the month you get to see all the different ways that people have kind of interpreted the same theme, because everybody works on the same thing. So yeah, that's kind of been that. It's been going, I think I've been doing it maybe 4 months now. Yeah, it's worked well from that point of view. Yeah, someone in chat just saying they want to combine themes and do something along all of them. Yeah, you could do 3 different miniatures. You could do one for each of the themes. I admit it's now, the 15th, and there tend to be a few things going on later in December. You may not have time to paint 3 extra minis between now and the end of December. But if you do want to take part, it does happen every month. So, yeah, you don't have to take part in December if you're too busy, but it will be around in the new year. The easiest way to get involved is look me up on Twitter, which is at goblin_squire, and you can see stuff around there. You can also look it up on YouTube, because that's where the videos do go to, and that gives you a kind of intro, and it tells you about the theme and all that kind of stuff. And it'd be great to see more people doing it. Yeah, the more people that do it, the more we can kind of inspire others, really, which is good, which is the goal. Yeah. So yeah, you can see this is going on relatively quickly, but because it is a very large mini and it has a lot of skin to cover, it's still taking us a little while. But we're getting there, making progress. Trying not to be the impatient person. I've already told you I am naturally. Yeah, so this hill giant is from WizKids, as I mentioned before, and WizKids do some really nice sculpted miniatures. They have the license to actually do miniatures from Dungeons and Dragons, and well, they have a deal with Wizards of the Coast, so they do Magic the Gathering and stuff like that as well, I think. But it means they can do sort of official sculpts rather than what is clearly meant to be a particular monster from Dungeons and Dragons, but they legally have to call it something different. So yeah, it's good from that point of view. As I say, they are nice sculpts. The one thing that always frustrates me with WizKids is they come pre-primed, so you don't need to put any primer on the mini, which is, it's a good idea. It saves you a step, but they never remove the mold lines before they do it. So you end up with a pre-primed miniature, but with mold lines all over it. So you then have to get rid of the mold lines and either pre-prime or just go over non-primed areas and things, which is a little bit of a bugbear of mine. Wait, no, bugbear's a different sculpt, I suppose, but yeah. And so this colour that you're seeing going on here, you might think is far too orange and looks very unnatural. Looks like an Oompa Loompa or something. I realise that this is not the colour that someone like this's skin would be all over. But obviously this is only the first layer. You can see me putting it on here, and what we're then going to be doing is layering up some of these other colours on top of it. So you've got some here. So this is what's called pale flesh. Hello, welcome. So this is pale flesh from Instar, which obviously again would be a very strong contrast, but we're going to mix them together later on. So we'll just keep going with this for the time being. Keep putting this all over. This giant Oompa Loompa over giant. Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of kind of different surface areas and bits and pieces on this, which is great for putting in the detail later on, and layering up. I think this sculpt has the challenge of it being covered both in muscle and fat, which has extra challenges when doing the painting, but it all makes for interesting shades and means you can really have those different colours and those highlights and things coming through. There we are. I did look at the box art for this. I don't have it with me now. I thought I'll have a look at the art on the box for the giant and see if that inspires me to do anything. And it's one of the most boring paint schemes you've ever seen. It's very plain. I don't know if there's a particular reason for that. I did look at the other WizKids sculpts, and a lot of them, to my eyes, have pretty boring paint schemes on them. A lot of the companies do very extravagant paint schemes on their different miniatures to sort of think, you too could paint your miniature like this. I don't know, maybe WizKids are doing the same thing, but they're aiming slightly lower, just saying everyone can do it, I don't know. But I'll keep putting this on. And you can see, so I was talking about the Instar paints a little bit earlier. You can see how easily and smoothly these are going on. I am watering the paint down very slightly, but really not that much at all. And yeah, it's going on nice and smoothly. Yeah, I just need to make sure I tag WizKids into all my paint jobs and see if they'll put them on the box art instead of the originals. Yes. I think I may have a little bit to go before I'm noticed by WizKids, but you have to aim high with these things, don't you? Keep it, yeah, keep those goals in mind. Yeah, I was. It's always nice to see, your art, your painting used in things, and so it is. Yeah, it is nice to see when people do use that stuff for websites or whatever it might be. I'm always happy if anyone is watching this and wants to send me free minis to paint for using on their websites or anything else. Then don't let me stop you. But yes, yeah, exactly. Dream big. That's what it's all about. Yeah, I think that's the thing with anything like this. You have to put the hard work in. You don't get there without. And I'm at that putting in the hard work stage, and hopefully eventually it will pay off big. But if not, I still get to enjoy doing my painting, and I still get to enjoy having a chat with everybody. Yeah, interacting while painting. Painting can sometimes be quite a kind of lonely thing to do, particularly if you aren't necessarily in the groove. If you're right in the groove of painting, you almost don't know. Or at least in my case, I almost don't notice that time is flying away with me as I spend hours sitting there just getting on with it. Sorry, I'm just having some slight. There we go. Can you hear me now? High tech stuff. I'm doing great on this. Yeah, wonderful. Cool. So I was nattering away to myself. But there we are. Yes, I was having some headset issues, so I was trying to move that, but it appears that I accidentally muted myself. What a technological master I am. Yeah, so I was just saying, I'm not sure exactly when I muted, but I was just talking about how painting can at times be quite a kind of lonely thing when you're just sitting for hours on end. And it's really nice to be able to just kind of chat away and have people here and eventually maybe do some kind of painting alongside. Um, I've got big plans for the new year in terms of my streams and other bits and pieces going on, which I'm not going to go into in great detail right now because I haven't finalised them yet and I don't want to be promising things that I don't end up doing. But yeah, I'm going to be doing lots more streams. I'm going to hopefully be getting some other people on to do some painting. I've already been chatting with some people about doing some painting with them on streams and things like that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And thus far, in my 2 weeks as a streamer, I've been enjoying doing the painting and doing the chatting and everything. So that's been really good. So I've just about finished now that first layer of skin tone. And as I said right at the beginning, he does look super orange right now, and I realise that it doesn't look like a natural skin tone at this point. But that's because I'm going to be building up the layers. I wanted this to kind of be almost the darkest place that there will be in terms of there being like shadows and stuff under the in some of the recesses, and at the risk of being a bit gross, in the fat folds. So those colours, it's much easier to put them on first, and then build the the lighter layers over the top, so that you kind of build up to a nice skin tone at the end, rather than trying to put in shadows. Obviously, you can use the kind of shades, things like that. So I've got I mentioned earlier, but I've got Reichland Flesh shade here from Citadel, from Games Workshop, which will be great, and that will add some depth to the miniature. But I don't want to rely on just that shade for getting that kind of depth and tone into the different parts of the skin on the mini. So we'll be doing quite a few different layers, but in the meantime I can let this guy dry once I've found all those little spots of white that I've missed on the skin. Almost inevitably, because it happens pretty much every time I paint anything. I'll come back at the end and I'll realise there is a little bit of skin somewhere that I've missed, but that's just the life of a painter, really. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, in chat saying that it's difficult to get those darker colours on if you already have the light stuff. Yeah, if you get something like a wash and can just get it to naturally flow into those recesses, then obviously that works fine. And you can always reinstate the colour over the top. But it is difficult without going over, if you've already put the nice lighter layers on, it is very difficult to get some of those dark colours in. So yeah, it's all about kind of thinking about how you want it to be. Katerina, I thought you weren't even listening, and you're still making dirty jokes in the chat. Dearie me. Yeah, so it's kind of about thinking about the effect that you want and how best to achieve that, and that's not always the same mini to mini. But as I say, because the effect that I'm going for this guy is that kind of out in the sun a long time look, I think that skin tone is a good place to start. So I'm going to let that dry. What I will do next is to start to go over that area with this warm flesh from Instar Paints, which is a similar colour, but it just starts to lighten it up a little bit. And then from there, I'm going to be starting to add in some of this pale flesh. Again, I'm sticking with the Instar Paints for the most part for this. So I'll start to mix in the pale flesh to start to lighten up that skin tone. I may use a few very small spots of... I keep holding it upside down because I've forgotten that I've reversed the camera. So I might use a few very small highlights of pale flesh, but because there is such a big contrast there, you have to be careful not to have it stick out massively. But that's kind of where we're looking at with that. So yeah, he's looking a bit orange, but we're going to set him aside for now to dry, and we'll do another layer in a minute. If for those people who were watching my stream last week, you'll know my impatience led me to move on to a next layer before I'd finished the previous one. So I'm going to make sure I'm not doing that this week. I'm going to try and learn my lesson from my previous experience. So we'll give the brush a quick wash, get that sorted, get that drying, and then it's time to whip open that Indomitus box. Oh, thank you very much for saying it looks amazing. I think, as I say, at the moment it's yeah, the skin tone is a little off, but that's kind of the deep recessy skin tone that we're going to have in the end, building the lighter ones over the top as time goes on. I'm now paranoid that I'm muting myself every few seconds. I'm just going to untangle some wires here so that I have a bit more reach. There we go. Right, I can actually move now, which is always a good touch. So, here we go. This beast. Yes, so this is a Warhammer 40,000 Indomitus box. Yeah, it's just a tiny little box, this. I was very lucky to win this in a giveaway from a guy who I only really know as either Scottish Andy or Andy Brew. So it was from a kind of, it wasn't even a painting competition, it was a kind of a friendly group painting activity, and I was lucky enough to win this. I haven't played very much Warhammer 40k, I have to be honest. I played a little bit when I was, I don't know, early teenager, so over 20 years ago probably. Yeah, I mean, I stopped playing back in those days. I stopped playing all Warhammer 40,000, everything else, because the costs were spiraling. And I've had a friend recently actually who's been really trying to convince me to get back into Warhammer 40k, and I've been resisting for precisely the same reason. It's not a cheap thing to get into. So actually, this is a fantastic. I feel so fortunate to have won this, and yeah, it's put a big smile on my face. But we're going to open it up and have a look and see what's inside. And yes, we'll see how well my knowledge of 40k translates to these things and how well I'm able to explain it. But you'll certainly be able to see what's inside and yeah, see for yourself what's contained. This is the box which a few months ago now, I suppose, time this year has just gone so bizarre. But this is the box which people were getting quite worked up about at one point because they produced it, Games Workshop produced this in very limited numbers. and people were missing out and not getting it. So I feel especially privileged to have won this. I don't know if they've now put it back into stock. That's possible. But what this is it's a kind of special edition starter set. So each of the games that Games Workshop run, they do a starter set for. But this is a kind of special edition one. So it has different minis, different everything else in. And this, as you can see from the fact that I've just taken the cellophane off, this is genuinely the first time I'm opening this, which is very exciting. And we can all see together what's inside. That's cool. Bit of artwork on the top. I think this is just to kind of protect it and keep it in place. But that's, yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, so first thing that I see after taking that off is a lot of plastic screws. Sprues, rather. I'll try saying actual things. So I'm pretty sure I read there were 61 miniatures in this box. So there are some Space Marine miniatures and some Necron miniatures. So the idea, I think, is that you can basically build 2 full armies from this. So with just this box, you can play a game, multiple games of 40k. So yes, I still get super excited when I see things like this because I'm a child at heart. But yeah, things have changed quite a bit since I was playing 25 even years ago. But yeah, looking super cool. These are some of the Necron bits. So Necrons are kind of, yeah, this is definitely where I'm going to end up looking like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but they're kind of like robot. I nearly said robot, like Zoidberg from Futurama. They're these kind of, no, I'm not going to be able to show you that easy, but I always think they look a bit like Terminators, like when the skin comes off. So they're that kind of robot thing, which is really cool. Space Marines are kind of the standard, I guess, for Warhammer 40k. So if you see anything to do with Warhammer 40k, they're what you see. But there are lots of different types of Space Marines, so you can paint them in all sorts of different colours. I mean, obviously you can paint them whatever colour you want. I'm definitely not going to be the one to tell you that you can't. But there are specific kind of colour schemes for different chapters, I think they're called, of Space Marines. Yeah, I mean, let's just... there is limited value in showing you every single one of these sprues, because obviously they're not put together. But, I mean, that is a lot of plastic right there. So yes, as I say, 61 miniatures of varying sizes. So they're from just the sort of 32mm scale humanoid, which is, I guess, like that big. But then they go up so much bigger. There's guys on bikes. There's all sorts. So yeah, very, very exciting to see all of that. What I will be doing over the next few weeks is putting these guys together, and I will show on a later stream. I'll show all of these things put together. It's going to take me a while to get them all painted, but I should be able to get them all put together relatively soon. I don't know how much this has been kind of announced by others, but I am taking part in a challenge next year, which is to paint 365 miniatures. So one mini a day all year next year. So it's an undertaking, certainly. And Michael Mordor is doing the same, and Andy from Geek Curio is doing the same thing. So we're all going to be painting one mini every day. So that gives me a good chance to get cracking on a lot of these minis. I do want to do a bit of variety. I'm also going to be taking part in the Reaper Miniatures painting challenge all year, which is a bit more chilled out in that you can paint as much or as little for that as you want, and it's not a kind of competition. But there are lots of different categories and things like that to paint. But unsurprisingly, it's run by Reaper, so you're painting Reaper minis rather than they probably wouldn't be happy if I just entered all the categories with Space Marines. Yeah, so I will be painting Reaper as well. So I'll be keeping up a variety, but certainly these minis will give me a good number to kind of get cracking on for that. If you were keeping up with what I was up to this year, you'll have seen that I did mini a day. So I did paint one mini every day for 3 months in whatever year we're in now. How does time work? 2020. So I painted one mini every day for 3 months in 2020, and that was a really good experience. and I think will really help me next year when I'm trying to continue painting one mini every day, because I've learned a lot from doing that kind of thing, and there'll be quite a bit of not batch painting as such, but making sure I get a good start on minis and being able to finish them. So yeah, again, these will fit in well into my plan to do that. So in terms of other contents in this box, this here is so that is all of the minis that come in the box. Just talking about you, Andy. Welcome, Geek Curio. Just talking about our little challenge next year to paint a mini every day. So this is all of the minis that come in this box, which is, yes, quite monstrous. But you can see what I was talking about there, about these kind of Necrons. I'm actually going to hold it up to the other camera because it's a little bit easier to show you up there. But they're kind of robot-y and cool. Yeah, I said his name 3 times and Geek Curio appeared. But yeah, so these are all of the assembly instructions, which I'm generally pretty good at putting minis together. I mean, practice is part of it, and also you can use a bit of common sense. But when there are all of these minis, I will certainly be referring to this this guide, which will be very useful. So that's just kind of to help put those things together. That is a really cool looking guy. I don't know what it is because, as noted, I'm not an expert on 40k yet. But yeah, looking super cool. I definitely think I'm more drawn to the Necrons in terms of the aesthetic of the miniatures than I am Space Marines. And again, I think it probably is partly just because Space Marines are so prevalent and you see them absolutely everywhere. It's nice to do something a bit different. I think maybe I'm just like a little hipster at heart. I don't know, but it does look a bit like a Star Wars probe droid. Yeah, actually, yeah. It's a bit bigger though because I think that's this guy here. So yeah, a little bit bigger than a probe droid. But yeah, given that Han and Chewie had to take down that droid, I think I wouldn't want to take down one that big. Yeah, but yeah, I think, I mean, all of the minis here look really cool. I mean, obviously there are lots of the kind of what you might call like standard Space Marines over here, but also you've got some really cool like character ones across the front there as well. Yeah, I mean, just so many good minis. I don't think I have any Tesseract Glow. I have, so that's I think is Tesseract Glow. I think is a paint designed specifically for Necrons. Yes, I don't. I have like 4 racks of paint, but I don't think I have Tesseract Glow. I imagine Mighty Nancer Games might well sell Tesseract Glow. I mean, just a guess. But that might have to wait until the new year when all of the expensive other things is out of the way. But yeah. I do think, yeah, I know it's a careful guerrilla marketing campaign from Mighty Nancer Games, but yeah, I actually I was talking a bit about paints earlier when I was doing the base layers on my giant. For the most part, I find most paints fairly comparable. I use a lot of Games Workshop paints because that's what I first bought, and I find them quite easy to get. But I do use lots of paints from other companies, and there's not much, in my opinion, to choose between a lot of them. But I think Games Workshop, I think their technical paints, their kind of weird and wonderful paints, are a kind of step up from some of the other companies. So I think that they are useful from that point of view. And I will absolutely check out a video of Mighty Nancer Games showing me how good Tesseract Glow is. That sounds like a good plan to me. But in the meantime, I should get through the rest of this. So this is a book called The Edge of Silence. And I think this is specifically specific for this box set. And here we go. I mean, it's going to tell me all about, why the Space Marines are fighting the Necrons, who they are, what they're doing. So, yeah, I'll have to go through this, and then next time I talk about these, I'll be maybe an expert is putting it slightly strongly from how many page book is this? 25 page book, but at least I'll have a better idea of what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think definitely different paints is one of those things that I do want to talk about at some point on my stream, because I think I think a lot of people have very strong feelings about which are their favourite paints. Um, and yeah, it would be interesting to get a kind of a debate going on of people advocating for each of the different companies and see what they have to offer. But yeah, genuinely, I use Army Painter. I use some Reaper. Having said that, I don't have too much use for them. I would say Reaper may be my least favorite, but that's controversial because I'll get myself kicked out of the Goblin Army. Um, but yeah, Army Painter, Vallejo, I like. I've even started using some of the Tamio. I feel like that's the wrong word. I use some Green Stuff World paints. Yeah, so many different things out there, and for my money, most of them are pretty similar. I've even got I've got some cards for the different units so that I know what they do. It would definitely help if I understood the rules of Warhammer 40k before reading these. But conveniently, is Tamiya what I said, or is that not what I said? I genuinely, my brain is all over the place at the moment. Um, so, having said, it would be useful to know the rules of 40k. It's almost like I knew what was in here beforehand, but this is the core book for Warhammer 40,000. So this, I believe, has all of the rules. It looks like it's got quite a lot of lore in it as well. Actually, I have to say, some of the art in these is absolutely amazing. Um, yeah, I think they do a good job of kind of packaging these in ways that make them visually appealing. So this is essentially a rule book, but it comes with all kinds of different bits of art, actual photos of miniatures. It has creations or sorry, I realise I stopped in the middle of a sentence, but I am a sucker for a book which has a an actual bookmark comes in it, like a cloth bookmark. Random but true. So this is going to take me a while to go through, but on those, if there are any boring days over Christmas with not being able to see family and things, I've got plenty of reading matter in here. It is a huge book. I will give you a page count if such a thing exists in a book like this. Lots of art at the back. So 367 plus some art at the back. So yeah, a little bit of reading to do. But very, very well presented, I think. I remember back in my day, the rule book. Back in my day, dearie me, how old am I? Oh, back when I was playing as a young gentleman, when I was in my teens, I remember everything being a little bit ropier than this. But this, it's beautifully presented. It looks like, and then left in here, I think we just have some bases, which are always good to have. That's a new Warhammer 40,000 novel, Indomitus. That's just an advert, and then there's the water transfer sheet for the different Space Marines. So there's a lot of goodies in there. I'm really excited to start getting those together. All those minis. Realistically, I love the art. I love all the different bits and pieces. I am definitely going to give these things a read. But really, I'm in it for the minis. Let's be honest. I'm really excited to get going with them. I like these little dividing pieces that they've put in here as well to keep everything safe. That's nicely presented. So just this little bit of plastic going back in the box. I'm never going to fit it all back in the box, am I now? This is not one of the strengths that I have in life, making things fit. Fortunately, my wife is very good at it, so she may she may be called upon at some point to help me out with this. But yeah, I think that is a really well presented set. And as I say, I mean, obviously, I'm super excited to get my hands on actually working on the minis and things like that. But yeah, that's a beautiful collection of books and everything else, and I'm so thankful. It's exactly. So the water transfer bits are just decals. I think the way that Games Workshop do them, is that they're not stickers, but they work so that you kind of get the thing that you want in your hand, you wet it, and then it just slides off the paper, which is why they're called water transfers. So yeah, they're kind of water transfer decals. Um, so like so that the symbol of the different army or whatever it might be, the different chapter of the Space Marines, so that can get put onto the armor. But the idea with the water transfer is it literally just slips off the paper with a bit of water, then you put it onto the thing, and it dries on there. And yeah, it works really well actually as an approach. My random little tip for you is if you're interested in getting some of those for other things, obviously, if you're getting Warhammer 40,000, that kind of thing, they tend to come with the water transfers. If you want some others, check out nail art. Uh, so again, this is something that my wife showed me, which is really helpful. Is that you can buy really cheap water transfers for nail art, and a lot of them, you have to choose carefully because you don't necessarily want the ones that just say, like love and whatever. That could look a bit weird on like a shield or something. But you get ones with like stars, with moons, which can easily be symbols of armies or that kind of thing. So yeah, nail art can be a I mean, I do love the idea of like a giant ogre or something carrying his shield into battle, and just with love written all across it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't let me stop you. I am not one to gatekeep these things at all. If you want to put little pink hearts on your Space Marines, you are absolutely entitled to do that. I do quite like the idea actually of maybe they could be like pacifist Space Marines, doing all that stuff. Um, yeah, but yeah, you can. I mean, I think I found the ones that I've got on eBay. Uh, Hello Kitty Space Marines. I mean, the possibilities are endless, really. Yeah, I found some on eBay that were, I don't know, like 50p a sheet or something like that. And you've got loads of different ones, lots of different types, all kinds of yeah, different possibilities. And yeah, yeah, I mean, the world is your oyster if you're going to go into these different things. Yeah, there you go. So something like 99 pence will get you a nice big sheet of those, and you can kind of pick. I might see. So I'm just gonna take a little break in a minute, so I can go and grab some more bits and pieces, and then I'll get on with painting some more of the giant. So while I'm doing that, I might just grab a sheet if I can find some, and show you the kind of thing that I mean. Because yeah, that's definitely seems to me a cheaper way to do it than doing there. I mean, generally doing anything unofficial is cheaper than doing it the official Games Workshop way. That's just how life is really. But yeah, they can be really great for that kind of thing. Oh, there you go. Tell you what, this is definitely a guerrilla marketing campaign from Mighty Lancer Games. Um, so there you go. So in the chat, apparently Mighty Lancer Games do print your own decal sheets. So you can have a look into that. But yeah, it is basically anything that says water transfer is exactly that same kind of thing. It's you just put a tiny bit of water onto it, leave it for a few seconds, and then it slides off and you slide it on. The only slight challenge is if you put it in the wrong place and then you have to try and straighten it up. It can be a bit of a nightmare. But apart from that, I mean that's true whether it's a Games Workshop one or whether it's a cheap eBay nail art one. So yeah, okay. So as I say, I'm going to take a break in just a couple of minutes, and then I'll get back to painting this guy. So this is the hill giant I was working on before, who is already looking a little bit sunburnt, but we're going to be working on kind of bringing some lighter shades to that. I will probably I will probably stick around till about 3:30 today. So if you're around, it would be great for you to stick around and stay with me. But I appreciate everybody who's been with me so far. So yeah, I shall just go to that break, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. So I'll see you then. Hello, I'm back. Hope you've all stuck around, or at least gone and got yourself a cup of tea or coffee or something, so you can sit through some more random chat and random painting. But I have found a sheet of water transfers. So these are nail art transfers, which I'll just show you quickly. So this is just kind of obviously only one possible thing, but lots of things that could easily be like runes. So these could easily be like dwarven runes, that kind of thing. Yeah, lots of things that could go on shields, on armor, anything like that. I mean, this could potentially just go on someone who's a really bad archer, maybe. I don't know. That's not a great shot, is it? But you do also get, like, for you with a little heart. That's probably not going to end up on any of my minis. Forever. So there's it's a bit of a mixed bag. But yeah, I think I paid 99p for this, somewhere around that anyway. So yeah, lots of different things that can go on in different arrangements and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely. Arcane runes, any of these could be that kind of thing. So they could even go on like buildings, on terrain, something like that. Plenty of possibilities. Stay, think, hope, young, boy, hate, love, strong. I mean, you could turn that into some kind of riddle for your players. I don't know. I might be grasping at straws here. But yeah, I genuinely think that lots of things on here that could be. And actually, even that heart, what's that got? Oh, it's got love written in the middle. But yeah, plenty of possibilities. And for, 99p. And I think they probably are the kind of thing that ship free from some far-flung part of the world as well. So I definitely didn't pay very much for these. And you can see I've used bits and pieces, but I haven't used all of them by any means. But yeah, suns, moons, all sorts. So yeah, good selection of different bits and pieces. But as noted, I mean, you can just get your own ones apparently from My Chance of Games. Maybe when I run out of all my 99p ones, I'll look into it. But at the moment, I have quite a lot. But definitely, if you have specific ideas for how you want to do your army or something, actually, I mean, like, design your own ones. Seemed like a really nice idea. So let's get back to this hill giant. So you saw, if you're around from the start of the stream, you saw me do the first layer on this guy. Very orangey at the moment, but plenty of time to go. So this first layer was done using this. I keep forgetting which one's which. Done using bronzed flesh from Instar. Was it? Does anyone remember? Did I use bronzed flesh or did I use warm flesh? Oh, dearie me. You didn't know it was going to be interactive like this, did you? Yeah, so I think I used bronze flesh. So warm flesh is going to go over the top to kind of give it a little bit more of a pinky peach feel rather than the reddy orange that it is currently. I'm going to put this pretty well, cover the miniature with this, but make sure I don't cover all of those really deep recesses. As I say, that will give some kind of depth to. I could, of course, give him like a farmer's tan or something, but that's probably not the best idea I've ever had, is it? I mean, it's not the worst either. It doesn't narrow it down. Right, so we'll get a little bit of this warm flesh going on here. So yeah, you can see on the palette, it's just a little bit kind of peachier. So what I'm going to do is I will add a little water to this again, but just a little. And I'm going to put this straight on, but then what I will do is, if there are areas that I just want to blend, I just mix these together. Because I'm using a wet palette, I can very easily blend the two colours together to give me a bit more of a slow transition between them. But you can see there, just with a little bit of water, this starts flowing really smoothly. So I need to make sure I don't have too much on my brush. And we'll just kind of, pick out some of the raised areas. One of the reasons that I really like the Instar paints is that they do layer up really well. So they don't tend to leave really kind of stark lines anywhere. So what I will do is I will paint a layer like this, and then kind of have a look and see how I feel about it. But then I will probably just do another layer like this, perhaps in slightly smaller areas, so that the strength of this new colour is a little stronger in those areas, and then start to mix in some of my really kind of whiter paints You know, I showed before, I've got that pale flesh, which if I put that over straight over these colours would look really jarring. But I can mix them together on my palette and blend them together on the miniature to start to kind of bring those things together. The other thing, I don't know how well you can see it. Hopefully it will focus, but yeah, you can actually see it's sculpted so there are veins kind of bulging to the surface of the muscles. So I will be looking to kind of paint those in, but probably then layer up the colours over the top, because I don't want it to, you don't want it to look like it's just lines on the skin. But you know how if you, I don't know if you can see me here, like say, you've got veins just under the surface, you can see them, but they're kind of subtle. So you probably didn't need to get this much of a close-up on my hand, did you? But so being able to kind of show some of those under the skin subtly is kind of what we're looking for with those veins. So that will go under some more layers of colour where I'm building that up. But you can see already it's kind of starting to look a bit more like a human skin tone, and less like an Oompa Loompa. And yeah, but we do want to keep that sort of variety of colour, as I say. So we just build it up over the top. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is actually the first time I've used these particular paints from Instar. So I haven't done skin using Instar paints before, but I am really liking how they go on. As I say, I've used their other colours. I wouldn't be saying that I like their paints if I hadn't done quite a bit with them. But yeah, this is the first time doing skin, and yeah, I'm pleased with how it's going on. You can kind of see that by using this tone, which is fairly similar, it's just starting to layer up, and it's not completely obscuring. Oh, got a bit of solid paint there, but it's not completely obscuring the colour underneath, and that's not what we want. Otherwise, there's no point in putting it on, is there? I'm not going to be faffing around adding loads of extra layers of things I don't need to. But at the moment, I'm just making sure that I avoid all those really deep recesses. And yeah, getting that kind of variation of colour in. Hopefully you can kind of see it starting to build up, getting that variation. Obviously, the plan is to put on quite a few layers, as I mentioned, and slowly lighten them up, but that contrast is starting to be there already. I like the discussion of Oompa Loompas in the chat. It amuses me. Yeah, I think. Wait, were Oompa Loompas orange, or am I thinking of the Futurama episode where they go to the Slurm factory? I might be quite confused. I now have a feeling that maybe Oompa Loompas are purple, but I can't remember which is which. It's fair to say, it's. I had to resist the urge, Mrs. MLG, to sing it. I didn't think I should do that on stream, but yeah, I'm now confused. Oh, they were orange. Okay, that's good. Yeah, it might be that the ones in Futurama were purple. Yeah, good. I'm glad we've managed to establish that. It's good to have chat here, if nothing else, to establish the correct coloration of Oompa Loompas. I'm not going to give this guy green hair, just just in case you were wondering. I'm not sure I should really be joking about this kind of thing, but on the don't worry, it's not too bad. On the back of the box, because you can see his hair here, it's painted like just a really dark black, and it kind of, the skin tone and the hair, I think the painting on the box makes him look like Hitler. Which, I mean, I suppose again that would be quite scary if a giant Hitler came after you. Yes, unfortunately, given what you were just saying about singing the Oompa Loompa song, one of the biggest challenges for me of streaming is not just randomly breaking out into song halfway through. Those who know me in person know that I am prone to just randomly breaking out in song. Next week I'll just do a Christmas song stream. It'll be fine. Try not to scare everyone away. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Thanks, Bellalurian. Bellalurian in the chat has known me for, I mean, well, I'm 36, and I think he's known me about 34 years. So he's known me a little while. Um, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it could be. I could be the singing miniature painter. I think there's definitely some future in that. I mean, until everyone turns off because they don't want to hear me singing. But no, I will say I'm not. I'm not. It's not that I'm an awful singer. I make it sound like I'm an awful singer, but I'm certainly not like the kind of thing that people would be tuning in from miles around just to hear me sing. Um, okay. So what do you guys think of this skin tone that's building up now? You can definitely see some contrast in areas. Part of the thing is I do still kind of want him to look like, as I say, that kind of idea of he does like to wander around topless. So I don't want him. I do want him to look like he's a little bit weather beaten and his skin has seen a few sunburns and things. I mean, if this were me, I'm Scottish, so if I'd seen any sunburn, I should be using scarlet for this. But oh, thank you. Yeah, I think, as I say, there's probably certainly 2 or 3 more layers to build up on top of this before I'm kind of happy with where the skin tone is going to end up. But yeah, it's definitely moving in the right direction, I think. Again, picking out. So now I've kind of, I think I've probably gone over most of the kind of non-recessed areas, but now I'm picking some of the smaller areas, smaller higher areas to just give a second coat of this colour, to again just to have it kind of stand out a little bit more and pop out. Could do those highlights. I'm not really going back to the GW discussion. I know that the Games Workshop method of miniature painting is very much about doing like edge highlights and that kind of thing. And to be fair, I mean that works really well with Games Workshop miniatures because they are all edges. They are sculpted in a way that painting style works very well. But for something like this, there aren't all those really sharp edges, and I quite like being able to kind of do that. Yeah, those layered effect is kind of what how I like to build up the colours, and that, as I say, this genuinely again, I feel like one way or another I've been just advertising different companies through this stream. I'm not being paid anything by anyone, I promise, but that's one of the things that I really like about Instar, as I say, is they just with a little bit of paint to thin it down a tiny bit, they go on really nicely as a layer over the top. So yeah, okay. Well, I will have to decide relatively soon if I want to do a kind of wash of Reichland Flesh Shade. It will definitely. So Reichland Fresh. I'll try saying English words, although Reichland is not really an English word, so it's all good. But yes, so Reichland Flesh Shade is a Games Workshop shade, which is very kind of red in colour. It is really good if you want a kind of sun-touched Caucasian skin tone. If you're looking for pretty much anything else, I don't think Reichland Flesh Shade is great for that. Although, weirdly, it's good for putting on gold armour, but that's something a bit different. So yeah, Reichland Flesh Shade does really bring that kind of red tint to skin, which can be really good. But I also am aware that as I'm building up these colours, I don't want to just chuck a shade on there and dampen it all down and kind of bring it all back together and undo some of that good work that I've done. So it can be a little bit of a double-edged sword, really. Wash if you're doing speed painting or painting things in bulk, wash is an absolute godsend. But yes, sometimes when you're doing a bit more of the kind of layering up effect, wash is not necessarily the way to go. Yeah, I like the idea of just doing some slightly red highlights to indicate a little bit of catching the sun. I was joking before about doing a kind of farmer's town, but I definitely could do some of the more exposed areas doing that. I've just noticed you can see one of his nipples as well, so I have to be careful. I don't want to mark this stream as adult only, but it's fine. I think it's only female presenting nipples that people don't like on the internet. Well, I might be getting too political here. We'll move on from this quite quickly. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to get some more of the same warm flesh and kind of go over some slightly smaller areas to again just highlight up a little bit, and then from there really do the mix in the pale flesh and then bring them up a little bit more. Yeah, and again, it's the difficulty with doing some of the sunburn that I found in the past is you do have to be careful to make it look like it's slightly sunburnt rather than he's just painted his face red, which is it is a difficult balance to strike. So I'll be giving that some thought as I'm going on with this about how we go about doing that. But in the meantime, it's kind of back on the same layering up approach as before. Getting that, it definitely at the moment his face is in need of some more kind of texture and contrast because it's a little bit flat at the moment. But that might well be where when I'm mixing in the pale flesh to get that really high note, it might well be that that's where I want to do that, just on his his jowls. I think I was going to say his chin, but he has a few of them. So yeah, pick a chin and go for it. But yeah, I don't know. It might be. I'm still going backwards and forwards a little bit on whether I want to use Rikon Flash Shade. But yeah, we'll do this first and see kind of what I think once we're at this level. I think that's part of the thing. The way I like to paint my miniatures is a little bit, well, some would say unplanned and foolish, but I feel like to get a really good effect at the end, you have to be able and willing to adapt on the fly, and not just go in with these are the however many paints it is, 3, 4, I don't know, whatever number of paints you want to say. You don't just go in with those and say, right, this is exactly what I'm doing. And again, if you're doing a particular thing and that's how you've been doing it for everyone else, then that's absolutely fine. But I think having that little adaptability can be really useful in terms of coming out with a good result at the end. Yeah, just kind of, as I was saying earlier on, it's a slightly strange collection of muscle and fat on this giant. So kind of figuring out what's meant to be behaving like muscle and what's meant to be behaving like fat, because obviously the shadows and the skin tautness and everything else is different for whichever it is. Okay, so let's then just some more highlighting. Fingers are always a good area to highlight because they give some really good contrast to the area around. And also, if you're gripping something really tightly, your fingers do tend to kind of whiten up slightly as you do that. So it's a nice little note that probably no one will ever notice, but it's nice for me to think about that kind of thing. I think part of the battle with mini painting is kind of knowing, observing, figuring out how you want to paint it, and replicating that obviously is another part of it, and it's an important part of mini painting because ultimately that's what people see. But I think you can work on the two things simultaneously, and just because maybe one isn't making the progress you'd like, that doesn't mean you can't be making progress in the other area. And just getting some painting done, just you're bound to improve as you go along, and that's definitely where I am. Like I'm just looking to improve with every mini that I do. Hopefully I can give some kind of pointers and some help with streams like this, but I'm certainly not in any way claiming to be an authoritative expert who knows exactly what they're doing at every given stage. But yeah, let's start to get some more contrast on the face, because that I think is definitely an area where it needs a little more work at the moment. But starting to get there, I think. But fill focus. Yeah, it's. I'm still. As mentioned before, that obviously this is only really my second week of streaming, and I'm having some trouble with the brightness, so it's a little hard to see. I still need to get it figured out. There's so little light on my desk, but it looks like I've got a bright light shining directly down from above, so I don't really know what that's all about. But we've established already by the fact that I inadvertently muted myself earlier that technology is not necessarily always my friend. Okay, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that's looking at the moment. So what I'm going to do is just mix in a little bit of that pale flesh, just the tiniest bit to begin with, because it's much easier to add some more and go over and do those different things as we go along, rather than try and just do one layer. Oh, good. I'm glad that you're able to kind of see those details at least on and off. Okay. So yes, we're just. I probably, finesse is not necessarily my strong point, but I'll try and just basically do one drop of the pale flesh to begin with. See how that mixes together. We'll start getting some of those high highlights on, and we'll start seeing how that looks, I think. Nothing like testing if your miniature's dry just by sticking your finger on it, is there? But it seems to be okay. So yeah, we'll go from there. I have been doing quite thin coats, and obviously, where it is a thin coat, it does dry that much quicker. I apologise if you can hear my cat shouting in the background. Okay, right. So, you can just about see. I've put a dot of white there, but then we're going to kind of mix that in and just lighten this up a tiny bit. This is why I am a big fan of wet palettes. I think obviously everyone has a different approach and use whatever works for you. That's basically what I will say on any subject on mini painting. But for me, being able to just add that, I've just added a drop of lighter flesh color, mix that in, see how we're looking. I can keep working on this, and I don't have to worry about it all just drying up in 2 seconds flat. So you can see there. I'll just bring it a little closer so that you can see. But you can see so this is the bronze flesh tone I did first. This is the warm flesh that I did, and I've just added a little bit of pale flesh in there to give it a slightly lighter colour. And it's quite relatively thin, so it will flow nicely, and it won't give really opaque layers, which is where you start to get in problems with, the blending of colours and things. But we'll start it on some of these really kind of exposed areas, and it is quite a jump lighter actually. So I do want to be, you can see there where it's gone onto his nose. I do want to be very careful with this. I don't want to start making really strong like edge highlights, as I was saying earlier. My opinion for these kind of miniatures is that doesn't work as an approach for painting this kind of miniature. But let's get that watered down a little more so that it's flowing and again not quite as opaque. And we'll start to pick out some of these details. I'm not going to do his lips because lighter lips doesn't tend to make a lot of sense. But we'll start to pick out his cheekbones, make sure he's doing that nicely. And there you can see it is quite a strong difference just at the moment. But I'm not too worried about that because it will dry down and it will darken down and blend in slightly. But also we can always go in and blend that in later on. So I just kind of want to make sure that we're looking good colour-wise. And you can start to see some of those differences. He's got a very furrowed brow, so making sure he's looking appropriately angry and grumpy. So you can start to see those differences kind of shaping his face a bit more. giving it those kind of variations. And again, what I will do is actually start to work that kind of all over into the lighter areas, but trying to make sure again that we're not having those kind of really stark lines of colour, because that's where these things start to look a bit unnatural, I suppose, is where you just have a really clear and defined line between different colours. So we'll got it nice and watered down, so it's layering over the top, and it's just kind of giving a tint to what was below, rather than just replacing it, is the general idea. So again, we'll go for the fingers because they're always one of my preferred places to lighten. And a little bit on his chest. Because that's another good spot for the light to be hitting. Get these kind of muscles here. So you can kind of see again, it's just building up that one more layer of contrast at the moment, which is what we're looking for. And once this has gone on and dried down, I can make the next decision about whether I want to put on another lighter layer, whether I want to use some wash, all that kind of thing. But finding all those kind of high spots first, and sure we're doing that nicely. So yeah, there we go. So you can definitely see now a big difference from giant Oompa Loompa to this guy who is got slightly more human skin tones. I'm going to keep blending some of these areas out just a little, because there are just a few little stark lines. But overall, I think that's had a nice effect, that extra layer. Let's see how well it will focus close up. So yeah, you can see that there are still some kind of not even necessarily strong lines, but there are definitely some areas of contrast, and this is where I have to decide whether I go for the Raglan flesh shade or not. But I think what I might in fact do, and I'm not going to have time to do all of this on the stream, but I will show a photo later on. But so what I think I'm going to do is probably put a shade on, and then pick out some of the veins and things like that, which you can see there. At the moment, they're not really showing up very well. So put them in, and then just do another layer of paint over the top, and again in those kind of higher areas, just to because wash is great because it goes into all the recesses and kind of darkens that down, and but it does stay a little bit on the top layer, which helps to kind of blend together for you some of those transitions. But it does darken everything down, so everywhere that you've got a strong highlight will be slightly darker after putting the wash on. So it's then nice to kind of be able to go back in and re-establish some of those highlights essentially, and make sure that you are able to keep some of that contrast, because there is a danger of losing that if you're not careful, which after you've put in the hard work of putting multiple layers on and everything, it's a bit of a shame if you then lose what you've done there. So I'm just going to give that another... Oh, hello, Goblin King. Very good to see you. I'm working on my Hill Giant, you might recognise from WizKids. He's just drying at the moment. But, I'm working him up to a nice skin tone. Using my Instar paints, which I've relatively recently purchased, which are a bit different. Yes, all bow down. The Goblin King is here. I was saying earlier on, I think it's easy to be really nervous about streaming. There is something, no matter how comfortable you are with these things, there is something a little bit performative, I suppose, about it. But at the same time, if I just be sitting here on my own painting, it's kind of nice to have people around and in the chat and talking away. It's yeah, it's a good way of kind of keeping company and things like that. Um, so yeah, I've actually really enjoyed streaming so far, um, and yeah, I plan to do quite a bit more of it in the new year. For those people who weren't around earlier on, my plan now that I've done a couple of weeks of streams, I'm going to be streaming again next week. So I'll be doing another mini painting stream on Tuesday next week, and another. I'll be doing another League of Legends stream because my League of Legends streams are on Wednesday. But next year, from January, I'm going to be doing 4 streams a week to begin with. So I'm going to be doing 2 in the afternoons, like I have been doing, but I'm also going to do a Tuesday evening one at about 8 o'clock. Make sure I'm not competing with the Goblin King because there's not much competition there. And then I'll probably also do one on a Saturday morning is my plan, so that people who aren't around for all of the different things can do it. Yeah, it's so nice having people coming in and saying hello and paying me visits and things. It is really nice. So next up, I am going to just slap on some. So I was saying before, so Reichland Flesh Shade is a good flesh shade if what you're looking for is a very red tint to the skin. It can do that even if that's not what you want, so you do have to be careful. Because this giant looks to be a guy who wanders around without his top on a lot, I figure he's probably caught the sun a bit, so I am going for a red look to the skin. That's my goal with this. So I'm going to put this on all over the skin, and that's then going to take a while to dry. So this will probably be the last bit of painting I do on the stream today. But then from there, I can then go in and pick out some of the veins, which I now can't find. Yeah, veins, which are going on here. Come on, focus. There we go. And also bring it back up a little bit, some of the other, some of those highlights again. So we'll just get in there. I have to be honest, I tend to be quite aggressive and plentiful with my shading. And as I say, it will darken everything down, but particularly those shadowed areas, which is kind of what I want here, and it will start to bring together any of those less subtle transitions which are going on. I think you can type at and then their name, Michael. So I think you just type at Mrs_MLG if that's who you wanted to tag in. I think. But I might be wrong. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah. It's alright, but most of this stream has just turned into a sales pitch for MLG. I keep talking about things that Mighty Dancer games sell, so you know, everything ends up going back there. But, yeah. So yeah, you can see there is a definite, you know, the colour of the skin has changed quite a lot, and some of that is for good and some of that is for ill. So yeah, some of it will have to be sort of undone almost with highlighting at a later stage, but it's yeah, bringing together some of those areas, giving more depth and definition to those recesses. Obviously, I'll have to do things like picking out his eyes and stuff like that at a later point. I know one of the things that is often recommended is to paint in eyes before you do other stuff. But on this occasion, I'm actually going to do them later because the giant has quite big eyes, so I can get in there relatively easily, and also it means that I can be a bit more free and easy with the skin tones as they're going on. So yeah, you can see very much now that this is going much back towards the red that we had early on with these skin layers. It's not quite the Oompa Loompa that we were looking at one point. But it's yeah, moved us much more towards the red end of the spectrum, and also the shadows are getting much darker again. So yeah, we're moving in that direction. I'm enjoying just watching chat appearing as I'm going along. People just having a natter. It's good. I like it. Yeah, I will just say at this point again, if you are new here and you haven't done already, give me a little follow. That would be great. It's very useful. You know, all these things ultimately come down to numbers and getting visibility in various places and things like that. So yeah, that's always good. But as long as you've enjoyed what you've seen and you've enjoyed taking part, then that's great. And please do always feel like you can chime in, ask me any questions, anything like that. As I said before, I certainly don't claim to be, a great authority who knows all the answers, but I will do anything I can to help at any point. You're probably better off taking out Michael Mordor if you want some actual definitive answers. There you go. Ah, perfect. Good. Thank you. Yeah. As I say, unfortunately, with these things, it very often does come down to metrics, and people will see what you're doing if you have the numbers in your favour. And obviously, eventually, I would like to get to Twitch affiliate, and then I can have subscribers and things. But that's a little way off still at the moment. Thank you all for being such wonderful people and nice followers. Yeah, so this is. I need to remove a little more of this this wash on those high parts, I think, because it is starting to muddy it up a bit. But as I say, I will be going back in anyway with the paints to get that back up. So yeah, I think I'm up to 15 followers now, which isn't too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. Still a way to go before we're hitting some of the big goals, but I think, as I mentioned before, this is really only my second week of streaming. I did a couple of test streams before that, so I'm absolutely happy with where things are at. And once I do start to stream a bit more often in the new year and things like that, hopefully more people will turn up, because it's always good to, as I say, to have people around, have people chatting, and to be able to know that you're that you're not just shouting into the void sometimes, really. So yeah, I think you can see here that this has created quite a patchy finish to the skin. But as I said early on, it's not about each stage thinking, how does it look as a finished article at this point. It's more about thinking, okay, well, how does this kind of work towards what I'm aiming to do in the end? And this definitely has taken us like a step further towards that, which is great. Unfortunately, I think I'm not going to be able to show you the next stages, but I will absolutely share the images as I move forward with this. I'll share it on the Goblins of Mordor Discord, and I will share it on Twitter and all those things. But yeah, we've definitely made some good progress on this, and I keep noticing things on the screen version, which I don't notice on the actual miniature. There we go. Yeah, so I'll make sure I give that plenty of time to dry. So that's going to be probably it for today in terms of painting that miniature. I do, after all, live in Scotland, where it's barely above freezing at the moment, and I don't have the heating on because I don't feel the cold. So, not a great combination for paint drying. But there we are. So that's that's where I'm up to at the moment. Because this miniature that I've been painting is my contribution to Goblin Inspiration, so I need to get it finished by the end of the month. I will be carrying on with this between streams, but my plan, at least for one of my streams in the new year, is to have an ongoing series where, if you watch each week, you see the progress I'm making on one particular mini. The beauty of having 4 streams in a week is I can do different things in each one. I am going to keep having one League of Legends stream a week, because partly that's just kind of relaxing for me. It gives me, something a bit different to do. But I will be doing, all sorts of different things. I'd love to have some guests on my stream in the new year to have a chat with, have a paint with, all those kind of things. But if there's anything that you would like to see from my streams, then you can let me know. You can let me know if you're a member of the if you're a member of the Goblins of Mordor Discord, you can let me know on there, or you can drop me a message on Twitter, or head to my website, which is goblinsquire.weebly.com. Lots of ways to get in touch with me. And yeah, if you have any thoughts, anything you'd love to see, now, this is a safe for work stream. Let's not go there. Yeah, so anything at all you'd like to see, any series you'd like me to do, anything like that in the new year, you're all right, Michael. Just keeping you in line. Yeah, so yeah, anything at all like that, I'd love to hear from you. Um, yeah, so I think I'm going to call it a day there because we've had an hour and a half, and I think that's a long time for anybody to be sticking with me. So I am really grateful for everybody who has stayed around for that time. Um, and yeah, I'll one way or another I will probably be in contact talking with you in different ways. So yeah, but as I say, thank you so much for being with me, for following, for doing all those things. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and I will be doing another mini painting stream this time next week. Well, 2 o'clock Tuesday next week. And Wednesdays from 2 o'clock, I do my League of Legends stream. So if you're interested, or you're just so bored it seems like better than nothing, come along and check that out as well. Great, and yeah, just have a great week in the meantime. Stay safe, and I'll see you all soon. Bye now.